For my final project, I'm going to be interviewing different high school basketball coaches around the state of Ohio. I'm going to be finding differences between their programs and the unique features that different schools have based on location, size, and if they are a public or private school. We start in Proctorville, Ohio, where Nathan Speed has built the Dragons into a small school power at his alma mater.
Well, you definitely want to, me being from the school, graduating from there, you definitely want to live up to those expectations and try to exceed them. When you first start, when I first started, you felt pressure to feel like you got to go out and win every game and tend to overthink things instead of just, trusting in what you do. Relax and believe in what process you're going through and, don't worry about the small things.
Yeah, and considering where you are, you might not have the high major Division I basketball recruits. You might not always have like a 6'7" center that you can go to. So what has that been kind of like coaching to the players that you have, because you can't go out there and recruit anybody out in Proctorville, Ohio?
Well, we definitely, defensively, we play man and we can stay basically with the same principles. I mean, there's years when we've pressed more, not pressed as much, but, fundamentally we try to teach them to play good fundamental defense. Offensively we can mix stuff around. We've had years where we've tried to run more and years where, we've slowed it down more, but we've always tried to teach, good fundamentals on offense, move the ball, get proper spacing, take good shots, work to get the shot that you want. So, those things have all stayed the same, but, definitely offensively you can run different things when you have, different styles or different types of players.
Yeah, and how much of an importance do you take on building sort of the grade school and middle school programs within like Fairland Middle School? Because obviously you've been there a while, so you kind of know like when a kid's in 7th grade and is pretty good, we're eventually going to see a couple of those kids on varsity. How do you have like much of a hands-on approach with the grade school and middle school programs?
Yeah, we more so with the middle school. We give them some drills we like to see and some fundamental stuff that we expect to be done at that level, and our guys always do a good job of putting that stuff in and going over things that are fundamental to what we do as a program.
And then last season you had a ton of success, went 24-2, I believe. You returned all 5 of your starters. Just what are sort of expectations for this year, and just how much of a blessing is it to even have played a couple games in this sort of crazy winter high school sports season?
Well, having the season end the way it did, it was just very nice to be able to play again. And it changed your whole summer routine, and having all 5 guys back, really, our top 7 out of our top 8 back. We didn't get to expand on things like we would have liked to, but considering circumstances, just coming in with an experienced group helped.
The next coach is Ryan Berry of Fairview High School. Fairview is a small suburb right outside of Cleveland. Berry attended nearby Lakewood High School, which is one of the biggest schools in Northeast Ohio.
I think I was fortunate in the time that I arrived at Fairview because basketball was trending up and there was kind of a buzz around a class. But going to school in Lakewood, our student sections were huge. We had a 6-man like I've never seen before. But a lot of that kind of took place at Fairview because of the success and the following that the young group of kids had. So even though a little smaller scale, it still felt like the same type of environment with the fans and all that.
Yeah, and then before kind of 2017, Fairview's had like no success this century in basketball, and then obviously one solid year before you take over, and then it's been a lot of success afterwards. Just what has that been like, taking over a program that's just finally now having expectations to actually win games and go deep in the playoffs, because that hadn't been the case for basically 2 decades?
Yeah, that's a lot of fun, and it's cool to see. You know, every school gets their turn at some point, sometimes more frequent than others when you're a public school. And to be fortunate enough to kind of fall into it has been a real blessing. The way that this community rallied behind a winner, you know, you could tell that maybe they haven't had one in a while. But, you know, we would sell out our games, and we're not a big gym, but, you know, 900 fans for a home game on a Friday. That isn't a playoff game was a lot of fun to be a part of.
And as a public school in a close to a large metropolitan area, there are going to be private schools that sometimes take some of your better talent from middle school. How do you balance building a strong middle school program, also knowing that maybe a couple of those kids aren't going to ever be wearing a Fairview high school jersey?
Yeah, you know, we actually, not that it's been a big issue, but we had a couple players in the past in middle school that were pretty good players that we knew were going to go elsewhere, and they still came out for the school team. And my philosophy is if they come out for the team and they're good enough, we play them. We don't assume they're not going to be here. Sometimes the kids that go away end up coming back. And I think it's important to just keep your best players regardless of where they may end up in high school, but the best players on the floor, and then, you know, hey, if it doesn't work out where they're at a private school, they'll be more likely to want to come back and be a part of your program.
Coach Greg Nossaman of Olentangy Liberty is next. He coaches at a Division I school just north of the Columbus area. The Olentangy district now has 4 high schools taking students from the middle schools. He talks about adjusting to new schools popping up in his town.
Yeah, well, we did have a lot more up until 2 years ago because we had built our 4th high school, and we used to have 2 middle schools that fed in to our high school. So we'd have at least 12 8th graders from both schools. That's 24, usually around 20, 24, 25 kids would try out. Well, now that we have Berlin there and Hyatt's and Liberty Middle, they kind of go different places. So, like last year, for example, in Hyatt's, we had 12 kids, and only 4 of them came to Liberty. So a few of them went to Olentangy, and a few went to Berlin. So we only had 4. We only had 16 try out this year. So times have changed in terms of that for us. You know, we're not blessed with a lot of big time athletic guys here at our school. So we just try to take with what we get and have a system in place, and then we work together.
And your school has been very successful on the football field. What's it like working with a football program that's very successful? And also, how would you rate your sort of facilities in terms of weight room and other equipment like that?
Well, we've got a pretty good, we got a strength coach, a couple of them, and you know, our guys live 3 times a week, and you know, with the football, some of our guys play football in the past, and you know, I just think it's a culture of winning, and when you win at one level, you expect to win at the next sport.
And you were able to make a state Final Four a couple years ago with one very talented senior in Ben Roderick and a couple other really talented core pieces. Just what was it like finally making that state Final Four at a school like Liberty that hasn't had the sort of basketball success that some of the other area powers have?
Well, I mean, it was fun. I mean, the ride was fun. That's what it's all about. You know, it's about the journey, not the destination. And we kind of grew up with those guys. You know, Ben played as a freshman, and Cassie and Kirshner played as sophomores, and they just kind of grew. And you know, they put. I don't really know how good we were that year, but we won 24 games and made it there. But, you know, we played together, and we play a different style of ball than a lot of teams, and it keeps us in games against the Pickeringtons and the Gahannas, and, you know, to play St. V, you know, down to the wire, you know, down 2 with 3 minutes to go and have a shot going in and out, you know, and you lose by 9, and, you know, it's about making buckets down the stretch. But, yeah, it's been a lot of fun, and that was a great year, and we kind of built upon that and won the league again last year. And we, you know, like I said, we're off to a 3-0 start this year, and we got a good group of seniors that are hungry, and hopefully we can, you know, get some more games in here and then continue to play.
Pat Murphy of Columbus St. Francis de Sales is next. DeSales is historically a very successful private school program that was expected to make the Final Four in Division II before COVID-19 canceled the remainder of the basketball playoffs in 2020. Their team is led by Des Watson, one of the top prospects in the state, and he's committed to Davidson University.
Yeah, it's been, really just a pleasure to see someone like Des earn the accolades, earn the attention that he's gotten the last, I would say, year and a half. Probably started in spring of his sophomore, going into junior year. And you're right. I mean, you're absolutely right. The rise he made from a sophomore to junior year, I don't think you see too often. But grew a couple inches, and the work he had, put in and continued to put in just really paid off for him and helped us out as a team. So it's been really fun to be a part of.
And you coach at a private school that's had a lot of football success, also a lot of basketball success as well. Just what is that like in terms of like student support and like facility support with them supporting like not only the football and basketball programs but also other programs like baseball, swimming, etc.
Yeah, I mean, we're just, I think, any school, private, public, the administration, really the community supports, expects excellence in all areas. And so, athletics is just an extension of, our faith formation, our academic expectations, and just all of our sports. We kind of, shoot for championships. We only put up state championship banners in our gym. I think there's 33 of them hanging. So that's just kind of the standard that's been set for many years by many alums before us, and that's the ultimate goal here, and we're going to do our best to get there this year.
And some private schools really don't have a very strong fan base. Like, they don't have a ton of fan support at games. How do you think St. Francis DeSales has been able to keep pretty strong fan support relative to some other private schools your size? I would say you guys get more parents and students at the games than most other private schools your size.
Yeah, again, I just think we're blessed. We're a decent sized school, 900 kids and Division II, and like anyone else, the more you win, the further you go in the tournament, the more the casual basketball and DeSales fan comes out to support us. I think last year our league games are always a tremendous environment, but our gyms are pretty small. But in the tournament last year, I think once we played Heath in the district semis and then Jonathan all their district finals, they were both packed houses to capacity. And just a tribute to our community, to our fan base. We're really appreciative of that.
Our final head coach is Michael Bates of Africentric. While Bates coaches at a City League program in Columbus, his brother coaches at one of the top public schools in the state. He discusses the differences between the situations at his school and a school like his brother's.
That's a great question. I would start off. I would say the level of financial support is different. The dollar amounts that his booster club drives for his particular school, whether it be the basketball boosters or just the athletic boosters at Princeton North, that money drives a lot of the things that they're able to do. Like, for instance, let me give you a quick example. Like, a lot of sometimes, like, their kids don't have to pay for their travel suits or new practice gear. Like, that's stuff that's provided by the program or by the booster club every year. Whereas a school like mine's at Africentric, we have a booster club, but they don't really make a whole lot of money, and just the community support, the level of community support behind the teams is just different. When you have a suburban school like a Pickerington, all the kids in that community go to Pickerington North or they go to Pickerington Central. And so the community gets behind those two teams in Pickerington because those are the only two teams there. Same thing with a place like Upper Arlington. They have great fan support. It's the only school in that community. You know, in instances like that, you see the difference between a suburban team where the community is really behind the school. There's one community behind one school, whereas in Columbus City schools, we have 16 high schools that have sports. You know what I mean? And our students, it's open enrollment inside Columbus City schools. So all of our students don't necessarily live around Africentric. You know, my students come from all over the city. You have some schools like a South High School where most of their kids live on the South Side, or schools like Northland where a lot of the kids live on the North Side. But when you have a lot of different schools in one community, you know, the community support is split between those schools. Whereas somewhere like Pick North, that community pretty much they're split two ways. They either pick Central or they pick North. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and obviously City League games kind of have a different feeling to them. What makes like an Africentric Walnut Ridge or a Walnut Ridge South game so special in your eyes?
Wow. Well, you know, a lot of the Walnut Ridge and Africentric rivalry really began when my brother was the coach at Walnut Ridge, and I was the coach at Africentric, and so it was always like a family thing. You know, like we were battling, and then both teams were pretty much in the top two in the City League South. So it was either Walnut Ridge or Africentric was always like 1, 2, 3. You know, we were always top in the league. So that kind of made for a big rivalry. Same thing with South. You know, just having a team that's competitive every year, and even though we might not, you know, we've only won the City League South outright. We've only won that one time in my 15 years as a coach at Africentric. We only played for one city championship in all my time. But the games in the City League South have been extremely competitive and spirited just because of the, I think, you know, South Africentric, Walnut Ridge, and Eastmore have been, for the last probably 10 years, one of those four teams is probably your South representative. And so we compete hard, and we're all pretty much on the same side of town too. You know, with the North Division, South Division, you know, so you got a lot of neighborhood rivalries. You know, you got a lot of kids that live in near proximity to one another, and it causes the games to be a little bit more spirited.
This project allowed me to learn more about the differences between programs and how not every team is at an even playing field. It serves as a great reminder that success for each team can be different based on these factors that they are forced to play under.